Question 2, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Okay, what are these questions trying to get at? What is the question behind the question here? In the terms of what are your strengths, they are of course looking for your actual strengths, what you think your strongest qualities are. Again, it's pretty open-ended, so what you choose has a lot of implications for you and what their impressions of how you view yourself. But also they're looking to see how mature and humble you are. And that applies to both of these questions. In the case of a strengths question, even though they're asking you to talk about your strongest qualities, they want to see that you have humility and empathy and are in touch with yourself. Same thing with the weaknesses, that you are self-aware, emotionally mature, and forward thinking, right? They want to see that you have reflected on yourself with questions like these, that you have given some thought as to who you are, what your best and worst qualities are. Self introspection, that's really important to answer in questions like these. Don't try to give an answer that they're going to love. This is something where I give this advice generally. I encourage you to be as genuine as you can. Truly think about what you think your strongest qualities and your weaknesses are. I wouldn't recommend trying to be cliche in an instance like this. Please don't say that your weakness is that you're a perfectionist. I have heard that many times before in an interview settings. It's one of those instances where it's not really a weakness. It's someone trying to really not be negative or point out an actual shortcoming. And the important thing is we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. If you're looking to describe your strengths, you need to make sure that you do so in a way that is in touch, humble, and self aware. And for weaknesses, you need to do so in a way that forward looking, emotionally in touch, and self aware, right? If you're going to talk about a weakness, it's not just about where you feel you come up short. It's important to, for a weakness, about how you're working to combat that weakness, how you're working to improve, things like that. Because if you mention some sort of weakness, like for example, if you say as your weakness, I think I am emotionally insensitive, you want to ensure that you are taking steps to address that weakness and to correct it, right? The interviewer will be keen to see, okay, if you are aware what to improve those, to correct them and to improve them. I think that's super important. Again, be truthful, but set this within a foundation of self-awareness and empathy. And in the context of the weakness, very important to mention, how you are improving, how you're working to correct this weakness over time. Let's carry on here. Question number 3. This is a classic one. If you are writing essays for any school, you are going to see this there as well. Why do you want to go to this school? Why are you applying for this major? Now, biggest piece of advice I could give for responding to questions like these is do your research beforehand. Think about what you like about this school, about this major, research position, whatever it is you're applying for. Now, in terms of the question behind the question here, the essential question is, have you done your research? Are your priorities in line? Given that you're applying for this position, a school like Yale wants to make sure that they can take it for granted that you might be applying to Yale because it's Yale and it's a pretty prestigious university. It's pretty well known. But more than that, they want to see that you are invested in this school, that you feel that there is a real connection between the person that you are and the school that you want to go to, that you are the right. Colleges and universities use all the time to describe this matchmaking process that is college admissions, right? They're looking to see if the school is a good fit for you and if you are a good fit for the school. And the important thing to do when responding to this question is give them a sense that fit is there. So you need to really consider why exactly you do want to go to this school in this major. You got to do your research beforehand. And this is where you mention if you have any sort of connection, right? Why did I want to go to Yale, for example? The people I had met growing up who had gone to Yale spoke so highly of it. These were all kind people who loved the flexibility that Yale afforded that allowed them to pursue what interested them and do so within a broad and diverse student body of super invested and interesting and passionate people. So that's one reason. That was my connection. But other than that, the academic opportunities spoke to me about Yale. I knew that I was undecided as a humanities and flexibility to develop all of these interests together. And Yale offered a couple of programs, namely classics and ethics, politics, and economics, that allowed me to continue to study humanities and social sciences interdisciplinarily. And that's something I really wanted, to be able to learn from a lot of people in these fields all at the same time without being forced to make a choice until I really needed to. I was drawn to Yale Yale because as a performer, the performing arts is something that was hugely important to me. And Yale is, of course, very well known for its cultivation of arts, visual art, music art, theatrical art, all sorts of different art forms. And I really wanted to be able to elevate my interests in these areas in a space like Yale, where so many resources are allocated to these pursuits. Things like that. See, why do you want to go to this school, this major? You undoubtedly have your own specific reasons why you're applying to each of these schools. So tap into that. In terms of prepping for a question like this, again, feel free to write this question down and jot some bullet points down as you prep. Again, provide some of that content that's not going to be quoted and scripted, but will still give you some material to use when responding.